Hello humans! Finally I've come back round to talking more about the gods from Magic the Gathering. This week I'm going to be talking about all of the 5 allied coloured gods who we've seen come out in the recent Born of the Gods set. Spoilers. Where are my words? We finally get a look at Ephara, the blue-white god of the polis. Now, Ephara seems to be caught up in issues of wisdom and cities. I mean, just god of the polis. And so it's pretty fair to say that Ephara is an adaptation of Athena from Greek mythology, especially given that Ephara is the patron of the city of Miletus, which seems to be an equivalent of Athens. We've already seen the themes of innovation and invention, but seeing Ephara's god card, its function is heavily based on creatures, which firmly grounds Ephara in active warfare. Which, by the way, is really super nice because there are too many modern adaptations of Athena which make her just strategic, only to do with strategic warfare. And so they just put her behind the lines, but I'm really, really pleased to see that in this particular set of Magic the Gathering, they've gone for active warfare and they've given her something that will empower Phenax, the god of deception and the blue-black personification. I've seen a lot of people having a bit of trouble placing Phenax, and I think a lot of that is because deception is quite commonly the domain of the trickster god of a pantheon. In Greek mythology, one of the major tricksters was, of course, Prometheus. And looking at Prometheus's character type as someone who is protective and wants to share knowledge, it doesn't quite fit the bill. The second god from Greek mythology who fits into that trickster archetype is probably Hermes, and I've seen a lot of people trying to place Hermes as Phenax. But really, even though he does the trickster thing, Hermes is often subordinate within mythology, and so I don't think Hermes quite fits either. I actually am very tempted to say that Phenax is an adaptation more of Thanatos than either Prometheus or Hermes. He is death in Greek mythology. For those of you who don't know, Hades was the god of the dead, but Thanatos was the personification of death itself. And given Phenax's function of milling cards and causing your opponent to just ditch half of their deck into their graveyard directly, I'm gonna say that he's closest to Thanatos, but could obviously have plenty of new invention in his creation by the design team. Mogus, god of slaughter. This is the red-black god. Pretty simply, he's Ares, or at least he's quite a simplified form of Ares. We could see some bits of Ares in other gods that are going to crop up, but particularly Mogus's brother, Eros. What I particularly like about Mogus is the way the red-black contrasts with Ephara's white-blue. The design team haven't shied away from the fact that there were 2 gods of war. Instead, they've highlighted the differences in the warfare. Ares was more likely to just want wars to happen and people to die in them, for there to be gore and anger and bloodshed, where Athena within mythology is much more about protecting. Her warfare tied in much more with her justice thing. And you can see that difference in these 2 gods' abilities, where Ephara will build you up based on the creatures and the army that you have. Mogus is just gonna knock other people down, which is perfectly valid. That's a fine form of warfare. Karametra, god of harvests. This is our green-white god, based fairly heavily around Demeter. Karametra could be the least complex of this particular group of 5 that I'm doing, but she's also one of my favorites. I just love the simplicity of her concept. The idea of just order in nature. That's what farms do. I truly applaud the design team for that. That simplicity is just gorgeous and I love it. And for the first time, I kind of want to play green-white. And finally, we come to Zen Aghast, the green-red god of revels. Zen Aghast is Dionysus. The design team have committed to this concept fully, and it's going to work so well. Partly, I think, because they've twisted the view that we have to take on the story. Zen Aghast has been set up as the major villain of the series almost, and his story rests extremely close to Dionysus's original story in that he's a mortal who's just sort of wandering around the world gathering followers and driving people to acts of drunkenness and madness in the name of worship and celebration. In the Dionysus story, we see how everyone is forced over time to bend to his will. He conquers lands and forms his own mysteries, and eventually he ascends and becomes a god. But in Theros, we're seeing this story from the point of view of Elspeth, and Elspeth is the hero who has to witness the destruction and the damage and the evil that Zen Aghast or Dionysus is doing in this work. So those are the 5 allied colored gods of the Theros block from Magic the Gathering. Sometime soon, I'm gonna do the 5 enemy color gods, so keep a lookout for that. If you have friends who are interested in mythology or who are interested in Magic the Gathering, then I would love it if you would share this video. And I am done. That's the end. I'll see you guys some other time.